Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network, and it's episode 916. Today, we have two beautiful women on the show who are in the entertainment world, breaking down the doors and breaking stereotypes and labels. Just like myself, labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So with that being said, what is the Keith Andrew Network? The whole point of my talk show is to show people, even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so you can prove to them you can still amount to something. Following's brought to you by Anime Adventures. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell icon, make sure to like and subscribe today. And when we come back, we're going to jump right into it.
Hi, my name is Brenda Daly, and I was just interviewed by KeithAndrewNetWork. Is that what it is? And it was super fun, and I got to meet some great people. And for filmmakers, just keep doing what you're doing.
Hello, I'm Tori London. I just had a wonderful interview with Keith Andrew. I had a wonderful time and met wonderful guests. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Tori, the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
Okay, well, originally I'm from the Midwest. I went to Minneapolis, Minnesota. I grew up kind of on the college track. I was good at, excelled at math and science, and I liked art. So my mom said I should be an architect, and I didn't know what else to do. So I said, sure, why not? So I went to the University of Minnesota for architecture. And all of the time, though, I think it was the fourth year, I just started taking acting classes, and I just got the bug, and I never lost it. I was bit hard. Then I was recruited to Seattle, where I worked in a high-end firm. And then I saw these acting opportunities. I just started auditioning for projects, landed in a feature film. I actually replaced the lead actress, I should say, that they were been working with for some time to get her to cry. But I'm a very emotive person, so I went in to read for another part, but just started bantering with the director, and I ended up reading for the lead. I didn't know. And then they called me the next day. Good news, bad news. So good news, you're the lead. You replaced the lead actress. I was like, oh, wow. So yeah, I've been balancing both careers. Well, let me back up. So in Seattle, there wasn't a lot of acting opportunities. So, but I was in a relationship. I was, making the most of it. And at some point I'm like, I just have to go to LA. So I was recruited to LA, interviewed at two firms, and I chose the firm that I wanted to work with, a small boutique firm. And then it was crazy busy working around the clock. So there was no time for acting. And then the crunch hit in 2008. That firm went down kind of in 2010. And so I've been on my own ever since. So yeah, I've been pursuing the acting. And then 2 summers ago, I decided to delve into the producing world, and I produced a proof of concept spec for a series. So it was an ensemble cast. It's called 99 Problems. It did really well. It's won over 116 laurels, everything from best director, short, cinematography, actresses, ensemble cast. Okay, I just threw up.
Good job.
Thank you.
Hi, your turn.
My name is Brenda Daly. I am an actor, writer, producer, director. I am in Las Vegas. I am originally from Southern California. I have been acting since I was about 8 years old. Both of my parents were actors, but they were stage actors. And my father was he always played the villain in melodramas. So, and my mother was always the leading lady. And as a kid, we were dragged from theater to theater around Palos Verdes in LA. So fast forward, when I get older, I actually trained to be a vocalist for 7 years. And then instead of doing that, I got married and had 3 children of my own. Of course, had to work. We ended up moving to Las Vegas, and I worked for as bartender for 25 years. But my other 2 kids were not interested in anything artsy, but my youngest loved it. And when she was 8 years old, she was cast in a web series, and I met the director there, and they loved her. And so I became a momager at that point. So, and I taught her to sing. I got her lessons. We worked really hard on things. We made one girl shows for her. So I've been directing probably since ever I can remember. Even as a kid, we used to direct puppet shows. So now I'm later on in life, and COVID lost my job, and I had been making a couple of short films with friends while I was working, but now COVID hit, and somebody called me and had seen some of my stuff and said, "Hey, we have this competition. It's going to be 7 filmmakers with $7,000 to make a feature film in 7 to 10 days. You know, you get to write it before, and then you get post time, but it's like a 7-month period." So it's called the Lucky Sevens Challenge. So I applied, and they accepted me. And so it's a feature film that's called Rogue Angel. It's a women empowerment revenge thriller with a little bit of horror. And I think it's really good. And we actually do a premiere this coming Saturday. So I'm super excited about it. And the ticket sales go to disadvantaged youth in Las Vegas. And it's called Project 150, the 501c3. And their goal is to keep kids in high school that are homeless. So that's my story.
Wow. That's so amazing. All of it, especially shooting a feature film in 7 days and with $7,000. Amazing.
Well, yeah. And then there was only 3 out of the 7 actually finished. And I was the only female to finish, so I'm kind of proud of that, because, you know, being an older woman, it's like he was talking about, like being disabled, or, you know, just being a little different than everybody else. I mean, I'm not in my 20s to accomplish something and have somebody offer that to me was, I got to go for it. So yeah, it's big. I'm hoping it gets distribution. I have a meeting with Amazon, I think on next week. So fingers crossed. So
fingers crossed.
Likewise. Hey, if it works out, hook me up. Hook both of us up.
Yeah. Distribution's a real thing. Like, that's the hardest part for me is because, we all want to take out a camera and do creative stuff and, be on film and, or write something kick ass. But I think the distribution and all the business stuff, we don't really want to do, but it's stuff we have to learn. So.
Well, with the 3 of us, networking is always the best thing we can ever do. But there's 2 things I want to talk to you, both of you about on your profiles, but we will stay with you. You also mentioned you were a podcast host.
Yes, I have a podcast. It's called Real Women, Celebrating Women in Independent Film. And it's funny, I started this podcast because actually when COVID hit, I had somebody offer me a situation where he wanted me to help him build his podcast. And then I was doing all the research on how to monetize and do all these things. And he and I had a big disagreement. So I walked away from the opportunity. But then somebody brought up that there was this app that I could go ahead and do it. So I actually did do a few podcasts last year. So I took the time, I kind of stopped for a while because I was making this feature and I didn't realize what the enormity of making the feature film was. But during that time, my DP, I'm doing a comedy micro series called Mom Squad. And my DP for that had somebody who he was working with, who's a podcaster, move on to somebody else. So he kept asking me about my podcast. So we have actually filmed 8 episodes this year. And we're just going to continue on because now he can get us distribution for the podcast. So that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, it's a great little podcast. And I really enjoy talking only filmmaking because that's what I do.
Oh, I understand. Is it video or is it audio? And
it's video. Last year it was all audio. but this year it's video. So yeah, I actually have to go to his studio, and at least I don't have to deal with all the buttons and all that. So
that's right. And Zoom makes it easier too.
Yeah, he actually uses another service. I'll send it to you, but he uses something else. But yeah, for sure.
Are you also available on LinkedIn, Twitter? Let's see. I was going to ask you this towards the end, but let's talk about social media. How can your fans listen to you? Are you on LinkedIn, Twitter?
Right now, I'm on Facebook, and then I am on Anchor, and then most of the episodes are on like Spotify, because Anchor actually sets you up for other ones. Some of them I haven't loaded the audio on the Anchor yet, but if you want to see the video, you can actually go to my YouTube channel, which is Brenda Daly. And then you can actually go to Real Women on Facebook, or you can find it under Facebook, Brenda Daly. I'm a big Facebooker. I'm not so big on Instagram. I'm trying to learn that. But my Instagram handle is Mama Birdnest, and I am also on Twitter as @Mama Birdnest. So.
No, absolutely. And don't forget, the Instagrams will be in the bottom of the screen. I did drop you a message, by the way, just throwing that out there. But Tori, I want to ask you, because I'm looking at your profile. You created something called London House Productions. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I started a production company because I wanted to produce films, and so I was looking for contact, and also looking for people to collaborate with. And a friend of mine, Mike Kehoe, I've wanted to work with him for years. We've been a friend for years, and I see him doing all these projects. And I actually went to his house. He was going to help me with my reel, because that's what I was doing during COVID, right? Okay, let's get my reel together. Let's get organized. Let's get a good team. Let's get something called auditions. That would be amazing. And so I went over to his house to watch my reel, and then of course we did. That's even generous. Who wants to watch an actor's reel? Like, right, shoot me type thing. So, but that's how generous he is. And actually, I was wanting to produce another short, which is still on my list to do. Human interest story, but he's like, you need to do something, action or sci-fi, and just like right then and there in his living room, just spitballed an idea for $4.99, waitress, and the mystery man, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And then within a couple of days, he wrote the script. We collaborated, and then we were off. We were off to the races. It just happened so fast, and it was so fun. But he compiled the cast. And his team, he's kind of has the dream team. His cinematographer, John Connor, Rob Harper, Richard Joel. He brings this depth of these relationships. So we had a 30-person crew. I was thinking kind of something smaller. So that's why I started the production company, to start producing my own content.
No, absolutely. Now, this next question's for both of you. One going to Brenda about your talk show, but this one we're going to start with you, with your production. Have you, besides me, obviously, thank you, have you worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities? And Tori, we're going to, Brenda, or whoever wants to start.
I actually have worked with people that have disabilities. They may not be disabilities that people will have noticed. Am I against working with people with disability? Of course not. If they're right for the part, they should be right for the part. I don't think that should be a problem. I think that when you film make in any situation, you need to be flexible. And but I've worked with people on day-to-day basis with disability. Sometimes I think I have a disability. We're all individuals, and sometimes that's your strength, not your weakness. I did a movie called Abigail Haunting, and the lead girl was very young, and she was very talented. And her and I had a conversation, and she had some sort of disorder. It was like a social disorder that she had, and she would never talk about it. And when we were off screen one time, her and I just had this conversation, because she was it would be her anxiety, and it is a disability. Like, she's literally been medically diagnosed with this disability. And we talked about it, and now she takes her art and she also advertises disability. She's a fantastic actress, and I would work with her anytime. So, it's just that as a director too, I think you have to be able to adjust and work with everybody, because we all have something. If it's, whether it's a disability or maybe a family problem, you always have to go and work with people.
No, I agree. What about you, Tori?
100% agree with Brenda. I'm trying to think. My project's not a disability that was obvious. And I think you hit a good point, because sometimes I have a good friend of mine, well, actually, I haven't seen him in so long, Yeager. You look at him, you wouldn't realize he has an amputee. I mean, you can't see that. He's an amazing actor. He's won. He's been nominated for several awards and Emmys, I'm talking, and also for different parts. So he's a phenomenal actor. I would love an opportunity to work with him or anyone. I don't discriminate. I am inclusive, not exclusive. I think we all have challenges, but I'm not going to put, if somebody has a disability, that is probably it might be a more hardship for that person than someone that who doesn't can even realize. So it's like, if you don't have a disability, then like how do you really know? But I would welcome the opportunity to work with anyone talented.
Yeah, I do think too that sometimes if somebody actually has a genuine disability, and when you're, a lot of times when I audition people, sometimes I think that I want this actor, and then I see somebody else with something, and sometimes what people think are a disability can actually add to the characterization if it works. So I don't think the disability should be a problem. I think anybody who's got anything that they're worried about, don't worry about it, because you'll get cast because you are uniquely you, whether you have a disability or not.
100% agree. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that should be a hashtag for both of us. Absolutely. I say that every time. But, the next one I'm going to ask for both of you is, actually, I want to make sure I read it right. Let's see. I have so many questions, so I wanted to ask you guys. Where is it on this stupid paper? Anyway, I can just make it up as I go. Makes it easier. What is hard about production catering to the right audience? Like, what do you cater to? How do you build the right audience for your production company and for your podcast?
Well, for my podcast, it's all film related. So, and it's all positive. I always keep everything on a positive note. It's not, a complaint section. It's just basically to inspire people to do more. As far as my production company, I write for me. Like, people always go, well, what do you write for? Well, I know that I can't write for somebody else because my stories won't be genuine and they won't feel right. And I don't want to go with the norm. I just write stories that I want to tell. And sometimes my ideas aren't that good, but sometimes I come with Jen, but as long as I'm writing for myself, I feel like, I know my demographic because I'm writing for somebody like me. I think that that's really the only way to do it. Of course, you can always take, I always take suggestions from people on cast and crew, and people give me notes, and it's not that they're bad ideas, but some of the ideas I won't use, but some I will use, because I like working with people who are creative, and creative people always have an idea, a good idea. It's whether or not you use it, right?
I agree. What about you, Tori?
Say the question again.
Giving you an example, actually, I can give my little 2 cents for this. When you're building the right audience, it catered to the right audience. For me, people are like, oh, you talk about disabilities, but it's kind of like, yes, my show is about overcoming mostly controversy, overcoming obstacles when dealing with disabilities, but it isn't just, oh, well, do you have just disabled people on the show? No, it's kind of like I cater to everyone. I had professional wrestlers, actors, actresses, CEOs, people with disabilities, people without. I'm turning myself into an example. Say, if I can do it, you can do it too. So when you try to build a right audience or wink, wink, cater to an audience, you don't want to say it's just disability based, then everyone assumes whoever's watching your show has to have a disability. But when you try to make the message of saying everyone's more than welcome to be on your show, it's kind of like, okay, if you try to please everyone, you set yourself up for failure. But
I don't really like the word disability. I feel like we are all uniquely us and we're all here for a unique reason. So I sometimes that word bothers me because it's like,
I agree.
It makes people feel like, well, if I'm different, I'm not worthy. And that to me, that kills me because we're all worthy. You know what I mean?
And we're all able.
and we all have obstacles.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I think I'm too new to have a specific audience. I mean, Brenda, I am, and I'm in awe of all writers. And if people are like, oh, we'll just write something. I don't think it's that easy. I mean,
I have to tell you, Tori, just so you know, is my daughter just wrote her first short film. And she doesn't consider, I don't consider myself a writer, honestly. I barely graduated high school. I was the party girl. I wasn't that person. Like, I was terrible at school. Like, if you watch me write a sentence, you'd probably die. I can barely spell, but I think I'm an idea person. And so I usually will, you have to throw it up and get it out. Like, get out your story idea, write your outline, throw it up. And when I wrote Rogue Angel, I spent 3 months writing it. And then I threw the whole thing away because I hated it. And then I had 3 weeks to my table read. So you do it because you have to when you're on a time schedule. And I think everybody's capable of writing a story. If you can tell a story, you can write a story. You just have to do it.
I think that's the issue. I'm definitely an idea person. I have lots of ideas. It's just putting them into action. I say I'm building a company. I'm collaborating with people right now. I'm collaborating with other writers. So I don't know if I have that audience, that clear direction of who is my audience. Like, anybody who will watch me.
Well, that's the thing, is you really need to find. I think you really need to find is what is it that you like to watch, and then Quentin Tarantino worked at a video store, and then he would critique all the movies that he would watch, and then somebody went to him and said, "Well, why don't you write a movie?" And then look what happened to his career. Like, he was just the guy at the video store watching movies, he had no clue, but his ideas were so good about fixing the other movies. Someone's like, why don't you do it? And that's how you do it.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you guys off the air, as I don't pay for Zoom. It's about to kick us off. But my last question, I want to ask both of you. When I first approached both of you to be a guest on my show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now, and what do you recommend to other people? And Tori, we're going to start with you.
Being interviewed, that's like a new thing for me. So I'm curious. I was curious about you and your show. I just want to say yes and see what happens. This is new to me. So do I give perfect interviews? No, but this is practice, right? This is great. It's fun to meet new people. I was excited to meet you, Keith, and a bonus, I didn't know there'd be another person. So I get to meet Brenda. It was no brainer. I was going to say yes. Yeah.
I think for me too, I'm always a yes if I have the time and the energy. I was definitely a yes when you asked, because I always ask people all the time, and it's really hard to get people on your show when they're busy too, because we're in a pretty busy industry. So I never want to say no. And I feel like, part of your job as an actor and a director or whatever you're doing, that you need to always be out there. So I always ask people to give up their time, and I always feel like it's very selfish not to do that with other people, because we are all we are all working for the same goal, right?
No, I agree with you 100%. And the reason I didn't tell both of you, by the way, Tori was going to be with us or Brenda was going to be with us, because when I try to I've been doing this for 8.5 years, but the one thing I do want to say real fast, if you guys want to add it to your calendar, June 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's going to be my 9-year anniversary. I would love to have you guys with us. The reason I say that is during that time, like, let's do single interviews, let's do double, triple, group interviews. And it always turns into a freaking argument. Well, I want to be on your show and I just want my time. Oh, I don't know who this person is. I don't want to share my time. It's like, whose show is this again? This is my show.
When you bring in people that you don't know, it makes things more interesting. Like, I never met you, Keith, and I don't know Tori, but I always find it, that's part of the adventure, right? Is finding out and learning from others. I always learn something from people every day, people that I thought that I was not going to learn anything from. So yeah, I think Tori, you guys went to the right idea. It's like, you get to meet somebody new and you get to talk about your project. There's nothing better, right?
I agree with that. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but wrapping up. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're watching on Facebook, Instagram. I keep saying Instagram, but what the hell? Maybe eventually I can upload it. If you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, subscribe, comment. I would love to interact with you. Our guests loves to interact with the fans. That's why we do what we do. Wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having both of you on the show. Thank you for being with us. Until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you and have a good night.